Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. Rajkumar's Learning App. Now we are going to discuss about the chapter name called Fundamental Rights. Very important chapter, maximum question you can expect from this chapter. See, fundamental rights have been described as Magna Carta of India. Now what is Magna Carta? Magna Carta means it's a great charter. Okay, great charter. Charter describes a lot of rules and regulations which carries any monarchical or constitutional guidelines, which is known as great charter. Okay, so Magna Carta of India, this fundamental rights we need to understand. So the concept has been taken from US Bill of Rights. After the American Revolution, the American Parliament come up with their own constitution. Their US Bills of Rights, from their Indian government copied this fundamental rights. So earliest known evidence of right was also present in ancient India and Iran. These rights were given by many civilized people in the earlier time of our ancient history, as well as in the country of Iran. So which is followed by different dynasties, and also the people who were invaded India also kept some kind of rights to the land citizens. Okay, so the fundamental rights are named so because they are guaranteed and protected by the constitution. We have three type of rights: natural rights, legal rights, and fundamental rights. These fundamental rights were guaranteed and also protected by the constitution which framed by a particular country. In India, like that only. The original constitution contains around 7 fundamental rights for the citizens, and however, after 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, the right to property was repealed, and now only 6 fundamental rights remain for the citizens. Earlier, it was 7. Why right to property was repealed means, after the independence, most of the land comes under the control of zamindars. So they did land reform. They do not want a particular zamindar to hold more amount of land. That is the reason behind repealing of right to property from the fundamental rights. So these are all the basic information that we need to understand. Now, what are the articles that provides by the constitution as a fundamental rights, that we'll see. So articles related to the fundamental rights. So article 12, definition of the state. State means it's India. Okay, it is not like Karnataka or Kerala like that. State as per the constitution, article 12, which is India. So the definition of our country, which comes under article 12 under the fundamental rights. Next, article 13, law inconsistent part 3 of the fundamental rights. We have different parts of the constitution. So article 13 is giving the complete structure. This fundamental rights comes under the part 3 of Indian constitution. Okay, article 4. Okay, article 4, rights to equality. Okay, everyone in the land supposed to treat equally. That was guaranteed by the fundamental rights. And article 19 to 22, right to freedom. Article 23 to 24, right against exploitation. Article 25 to 28, right to freedom of religion. Article 29 to 30, cultural and educational rights. Article 32, rights to constitutional remedies. These are all the basic, and we will see the subdivision of all this, fundamental rights. So article 14, as I told you, equality before the law and equal protection of laws. Every citizen in the country is supposed to treat equally before the law. That comes under article 14. Article 15, prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. India considered more number of religions such Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, based on the religious, based on the color, based on the place where they belong to, based on the caste. There should not be any kind of discrimination. That has been safeguarded under Article 15 of our Indian Constitution. Article 16, equal opportunity in matters of public employment. Okay, it carries employment opportunity. So every citizen in India supposed to get guaranteed public employment under the Article 16, that is to be equality. Okay, Article 17, abolition of untouchability and prohibition of its practice. This is the major theme, was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi, because Gandhiji is against the untouchability. So as per his ideology, the fundamental rights carries abolition of untouchability also. Article 18, abolition of titles except military and academic. Okay, earlier what British did, they started giving titles to the Indians, such Sir, okay, and Lord. Those kind of titles were abolished, and based on the academics, that doctor or military, such colonial captain, those kind of titles can be adopted. Apart from that, the royal titles are not at all used to have by the Indians. That is what Article 18. Article 19, which is very important, 6 rights regarding the freedom of speech and expression. Any group of people can form the assembly, and also any kind of laborers or workers can come up with their association, and anyone can launch any movement, and everywhere in India we can do residence. Then any profession that you wish, you can go for it. All these things comes under your Article 19, which is very important and which was guaranteed by the Indian Constitution under fundamental rights. Article 20, protection in respect of conviction for the offences. If any people used to commit any offences, they need to get protection. Okay, that also comes under our fundamental rights, Article 20. Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. Okay, every citizen supposed to have their own life as be protected by the Constitution. Okay, so Article 21A, right to elementary education, very important. Right to education comes under our Indian Constitution, that is Article 21A. Article 22, protection against arrest, detention in certain cases. Okay, protection against arrest and detention. If anyone committing the crime, such cases, okay, for the arrest as well as the detention, those people whoever committed that crime supposed to get protected. That also comes under your Constitution. Okay, Article 23, prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Okay, for example, the kids were kidnapped and they were trafficking to different parts of our country. That has to be prohibited, and also forced labor system should not be there. Article 24, prohibition of employment of children in factories. Okay, earlier during the time of British, the factories never allowed there was a age consumption and all. Okay, irrespective of any age, they need to work in the factories. So this comes under fixing some age, and also not letting the children to work in the factories. And Article 25, freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion. Any citizen of this nation can practice any religion as per their choice. Article 26, freedom to manage religious affairs. All the religions have their own platform, such temples, mosques and churches. Okay, they can freedom in terms of managing their religious affairs. Article 27, freedom from payment of taxes for promotion of any religion. Okay, if you are giving some money for the religious purpose, there should not be that money should not become under your taxation. That is known as Article 27. Article 28, freedom from attending religious instruction or worship in certain educational institutions. Okay. And Article 29, protection of language, script, culture of minorities. The less population communities were called as minority in our nation. Okay, so those people used to have their protection in terms of language and script, okay, because of their cultural interest. Article 30, right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Those minorities also come up with their establishment of educational institution. Okay, very important article, that is 32, which is known as constitutional remedies. Remember, heart and soul of Indian Constitution, which is known as Article 32. Whatever the fundamental rights that we discussed, it is not properly given to the Indian citizens, and any kind of agitation citizens are feeling, then as per this Article 32, any individual citizen can go and complain in the Supreme Court of India. Okay, that comes under your Article 32, which is known as constitutional remedies. Okay, right to move Supreme Court for the enforcement of fundamental rights, including the writs. Okay, writ petition. We used to call it as writ petition. 5 type of writ petition we have under the Article 32. Habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari quo warranto. Okay, habeas corpus means it is enforced to protect the fundamental rights to the liberty of an individual. Any unlawful detention happened, for example, if I got arrested in terms of any unlawful detention. So my relatives or my friends can go with a petition of habeas corpus in present of my body, okay, in the Supreme Court. That is known as habeas corpus. Next, mandamus. It is issued to the subordinate court by the high courts. Okay, any officer or government or corporation or any other institution commanding the performance of certain acts or duties. If they fail to perform any duties, this mandamus can be issued to those kind of institution. Next, prohibition. It is used by high court to a lower court to enforce inactivity in the jurisdiction. Okay, any specific case is going for the jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means boundary. Okay, so high court used to issue to the lower court to enforce what are all the inactive cases in their jurisdiction to come up with a speedy trial, which is known as prohibition. Certiorari, it is issued to lower court directing that the transfer of a case, okay, for review, usually to overrule the judgment of lower court. If the lower court is giving some judgment, anyone can go and approach the high court. So the judicial review will be there, which is known as certiorari. Last one is quo warranto. It is used against a person who claims a public office. Okay, it is related to the public office, whoever not performing their duty well. So this quo warranto can be issued to the court. So these are all the 5 important writ petition which comes under Article 32, right to the constitutional remedies. Remember, this is popularly known as heart and soul of our Indian Constitution. Okay, so these are all the fundamental rights. Based on this, we'll see small questions also, so that you will understand. And these are all the add-on information. Article 33 deal with the power of Parliament to modify the fundamental rights. If any modification has to be done, for example, any privacy issue are coming, and that case in the court means Article 33 deals with the power of the Parliament to modify the fundamental rights. Article 34 deals with the martial law. The military and armed forces will not come under the Indian Constitution because they have a separate law which is known as martial law. Article 35 deals with legislation required to deal with the fundamental rights. And fundamental rights which is exclusively available for the Indian citizens. Article 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. These 5 articles which is applicable for the Indian citizens. Other than that, the remaining available for both citizens as well as non-citizens. 14, 20, 21, 21A, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. All these articles under fundamental rights can be available for the citizen as well as the non-citizens. Okay, suspension of the fundamental rights. Is there any kind of scenario where the fundamental rights can be suspended? Yes, it is there. The fundamental rights can be suspended in case of national emergency. Okay, Article 352, President have the authority to impose national emergency in terms of war or else internal dispute. Okay, war, aggression or internal dispute. President has the authority to declare national emergency under Article 352. During this time period, the 6 fundamental rights under Article 19 are automatically suspended, because once Article 352 came into existence means 144 will be there. So there is no rights to form an association or movement, everything will be curtailed. So Article 19 are automatically suspended in the case of emergency is imposed on the grounds of war or external aggression. Okay, so the rights mentioned under Article 20 and 21 can never suspended because it is about the privacy. Okay, rights to live and the liberty of human beings supposed to be enjoyed. So Article 20 and 21 remain same during the time of emergency. Article 19 automatically suspended during the time of national emergency. Okay. But actually 3 types of emergency we have: national emergency, state emergency and financial emergency. Only during the time of national emergency these fundamental rights can be suspended. Other than that, state emergency, during the time of financial emergency also fundamental rights will be there and it will be protected by the Indian Constitution. Okay. So quiz based on the fundamental rights chapter. How many freedoms are generated under Article 17? I told you earlier it was 7 after 44th amendment of 19. Okay. 1978, like we have only 6 fundamental rights were guaranteed. Okay, which among the following articles of the Constitution of India abolished untouchability? Untouchability was abolished under Article 17 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, which among the following article of the Constitution of India safeguard the protection of life and liberty? In recent days, you can see a lot of cases which is going for Supreme Court based on the life and liberty. Okay, so Article 21, option A is the right answer. So, which among the following articles of the Constitution of India provides the constitutional remedies? I told you about the heart and soul of the Indian Constitution, that is constitutional remedies under Article 32. Okay, option B is your right answer. Okay, the Constitution of India adopted fundamental rights from which country's constitution? As I told you, US Bills of Rights, United States of America Bills of Rights, from there only our Indian Constituent Assembly adopted this fundamental rights. So option C is your right answer. USA Constitution. Okay, so that's all about the fundamental rights. Keep practice the questions and also refer the notes which I mentioned in this chapter. Okay, thank you. We'll see you in the next session.